Should police even bother pursuing vehicles anymore? I mean, is it really worth it? Police pursuits cause a lot of property damage, or they certainly can, but what's even worse is they endanger the lives of innocent people who are not involved at all. They have nothing to do with it. I'm going to share my thoughts, as well as some experiences as a uniformed police officer. I've been watching police pursuits for years now, first on TV and now on YouTube, mostly compilations. Whenever they take place, instantaneously, people are informed through their scanners, and it's not long before media hops on board with the choppers, because we all know that people are going to be turning in. And why not? I mean, pursuits are very exciting. Nowadays, they're posted everywhere, live. Videos like that receive an incredible amount of views. Early in my career, my shift was involved in 2 vehicle pursuits that happened within a month of each other. It involved, the first one involved a small pickup truck and one of our Crown Vics. It started on one of the side streets, and it continued up to a major highway. It was dark outside. It was probably around 2-3 a.m. Vehicles are traveling at a high rate of speed. At one point on the highway, the suspect vehicle was side-swiping the cruiser a few times, trying to get it to stop. This went on through our jurisdiction, but into another jurisdiction, which was picked up as well. Eventually, the suspects knew that this was not going to end, and they stopped the vehicle. An arrest was made. Nobody was hurt. Within weeks, a second one took place almost in the exact area where the first one started. And I mention these two because it's kind of a big deal. When you got a suspect vehicle ramming police cars, I mean, that's a big thing. Started in the side streets. It was late at night. I got to mention that as well. It was dark. Barely any vehicles on the road. Also very important. Made their way up to the major highway. Along the highway, the additional police services hopped on board. They were able to successfully stop the vehicle using the pit maneuver, and arrests were made. I'm sure this is obvious and I don't have to say it, but there's a big difference between pursuing a vehicle during the day, during business hours, when people are out and about, maybe kids are walking to school or home from school, compared to a pursuit at 2 or 3 a.m. when it's dark, there's barely any vehicles on the road, and you're on a major highway. I got to say this before I continue. People are moving away from the word pursue or pursuit. Now it's pace. You're not pursuing another vehicle, you're pacing another vehicle. Also, the nature of the crime or the offense has to be taken into consideration when the officer decides to pursue or to call it off, or if the officer in charge decides to call it off, or if the dispatcher decides to call it off, all who have that authority. Over the years, both on TV and social media, I've seen the most destructive pursuits take place where hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage done during the pursuit. And again, what's even worse, innocent people have been seriously injured or even killed. I'm sure you've seen them or have heard about them as well. Now, even before I became a police officer, I wondered if some of these pursuits were really worth it. Watching TV, some vehicle traveling at a high rate of speeds, weaving in and out of the lanes, hopping a curb, driving on the sidewalk, people jumping out of the way. Then they go through an intersection, sideswiping another vehicle, again, who had nothing to do with this, just going on about their way, following all the rules of the road. So then you got to ask yourself, what crime is worth causing thousands of dollars of property damage, hundreds of thousands possibly, damage to police vehicles, of course, but even more importantly, putting human lives in danger? Would it be armed robbery at a bank? I could list all kinds of different crimes, but just by what they're called, this video will get flagged and probably taken down. But I'm going to use a bank robbery for an example. Multiple suspects happened during the day. They were armed and they got away with thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Great score. They flee into a vehicle that was waiting for them. Police are able to determine that the suspects are in fact in that vehicle. They attempt to stop the vehicle, activate their emergency equipment. The suspect vehicle takes off. They manage to get a helicopter to follow it along. That's an important point that I'm trying to make, or a drone even. Scanners are out there, so now people are watching it live. Even some of the encrypted radios, police radios, there's ways to bypass that. So now that's it. It's live. It's out there. The vehicle's flying through city streets, weaving in and out of traffic, on the sidewalk. People are jumping out of the way. They know something's happened. Some people can hear the police sirens, but quite often they're driving up so fast that as soon as you hear the siren, it's kind of happening right behind you. The vehicle's flying through intersections. People are almost getting hurt. They make it to the freeway. They think they're going to get away, but the cops are right on them. Now, let's say they crash their vehicle. Suspect crashes their vehicle. They get out. They force some innocent driver out of their vehicle, and then they take off. And I won't even get into the horrors of what if there was family members of that driver inside the vehicle that was just stolen. Eventually, they crash, police show up, and an arrest is made. Done. Now, that's a fairly drastic example, but I use that example specifically because you don't have to look very far online to see where something like that has actually taken place. But where do you draw the line? Where do you make the determination that it's more important to have these suspects in custody than it is to worry about the safety of innocent bystanders? Is it perhaps because the suspects have ended people's lives, and by letting them go, they may be doing it again and again? I mean, that's certainly something to consider. But would you be okay if it was your family, your loved ones, your children who lost their lives because of a pursuit where something was stolen and nobody was injured? Yeah, sure, charges will be added to the suspect, but that doesn't take away the pain, the lifelong pain and agony of losing a family member or loved one due to any circumstance. That doesn't comfort them at all. I'll even go further than that. With some of the ridiculously low sentences being handed out to criminals for far worse things than armed robbery, I bet you the courts might look favorably upon them if they just gave up right away. They know the cops are on to them and nothing happened. They gave up. And what would surprise me even more, or wouldn't surprise me, sorry, is if they're already on bail or conditions for doing the exact same thing days or weeks or months earlier. This is maddening and it has to stop. All right, some stats I'm going to throw out here. Recent stats. This is from the US. In 2022, over 577 deaths can be attributed to car chases. Over 3,000 were killed from 2017 to 2022. Over 3,000 people killed from 2017 to 2022. Hundreds of them being innocent bystanders. These stats are out there. They're fairly well documented. You can check them out. I mentioned earlier, besides the involved officer, the officer in charge can make the determination to terminate the pursuit, as well as the dispatcher. The dispatcher can also make the determination to terminate the pursuit. And if the officer involved, the officer pursuing, doesn't follow those orders, that officer can also be charged. I want to mention that it's Public Safety Telecommunicators Week at the time that I'm filming this, so a shout out to all the dispatchers and the call takers for the amazing work they do. They're a lifeline to first responders, and they deserve nothing but gratitude and respect. This is a very difficult topic, and there's all kinds of what ifs. What if this happened? What if this? It's very easy to sit back and judge a situation that an officer had to make at a very dynamic and stressful moment. That's not what we're doing here at all. Listen, I would love to know your thoughts. I've mentioned before that people are paying attention to the comments. Some of those people are in positions of power and authority. I hate to use that term, but that's a fact. So please share your thoughts. I read every single one of them, and I respond when it's appropriate to do so. So thank you very much for watching this video. And until the next, be safe out there, look after one another, and perhaps we will see you again.